Okay, hello, Mr. Burrell here. We are in Unit 8. We've been talking about some basics on graphing. We've talked about parent functions. We've talked about transforming parent functions and being able to recognize those transformations. We just got finished talking about domain and range of different kinds of functions. So we've been analyzing graphs and functions in a lot of different ways, especially focusing on graphs. And today, we're going to talk about another part of graphing, some things that we recognize, some patterns that we see, some ways that we can identify characteristics of graphs. And that is increasing, decreasing, minimums, and maximums. So by the end of this video, by the end of this lesson, I hope that you're able to identify where a graph is increasing and where it is decreasing. And I hope that you're able to identify where a graph has a minimum or maximum value. And we'll talk about what that means. So I'm going to use roller coasters to help understand these next couple of sections, to help visualize these next couple of sections. So I have this function right here. This is my math roller coaster. So with one color on this roller coaster, I'm going to label all the parts of the track where the cart will be traveling downward. So here's my cart. Here's Mr. Burrell. He's sitting in his little roller coaster cart. So I'm going to label first all the parts of the track where the cart is traveling downward with a red color. So right here, this whole section right here, and right here, and right here, that's where the graph, or where the roller coaster, is decreasing, or going down. Next, let me change colors here. I'm going to mark with another color called green all the parts of the track where the cart is traveling upwards. So right here, the cart is traveling upwards. Right here, it's traveling upwards. And right here, it's traveling upwards. Then, lastly, I am going to mark everywhere. Whoops, let me go back here. Okay, next I'm going to mark everywhere where the graph or the track changes directions. So right here, right here, right here, and right here. So in all of those places, the cart goes from going downwards to going upwards, or from going upwards to going downwards. Okay? So you notice all of these there's like a little dip in the track, and I put a dot. There's a little valley. You can call this a dip or a valley. Then up here, there's a little mountain or a little cap right here. All of those, I'm going to put these little dots. Okay. So when I'm talking in math terminology, when I'm talking about a function or when I'm talking about a graph, the color part of the roller coaster, this red part, represents where the function is decreasing. So this part that's going down, this red part, is where the function is decreasing. The colored part of this roller coaster that's green is where the function is increasing or going up, as you can see. And then these thick dots on the roller coaster represent relative minimum and maximum values of the function. So these little peaks or these little valleys, these little mountains, these little dips, those represent maximums and minimums. I forgot to mark this dot over here. Minimums of this function. So we're going to use this roller coaster to look at a bunch of different graphs that represent these different functions and identify where those functions are increasing, decreasing, and recognize their maximums and their minimums. So let's start right here. I'm going to start by labeling this graph everywhere that's increasing and decreasing. So where my roller coaster is going up, I'm going to label it with one color. Wherever my roller coaster is going down, let me move this out of the way. Everywhere my roller coaster is going down, I'm going to label with another color. And I'm going to put a thick dot wherever the roller coaster changes from going up to down or from down to up. So let me slide this down a little bit so you can see everything that's going on. Okay, so where is this function increasing? If I had a tall, vertical, invisible line moving from left to right, marking my roller coaster, what are the x values over which this function is increasing? Well, this arrow means it's just going to keep going to the left forever and ever, so it's increasing from negative infinity all the way up to this point right here, where x is negative 3. So this function is increasing from negative infinity all the way up to 3. Negative 3, sorry. But that's not all. It's also increasing from here to here. See this part right here? So from 1 all the way to 4, from 1 all the way to 4, this function is also increasing. So I'm going to write from 1 to 4. I have two different intervals where this function is increasing. Now I'm going to look where the function is decreasing, or where my roller coaster is going down, from here to here. So my roller coaster is going down from -3 to +1. So it's decreasing from -3 to +1. Notice I have parentheses around all of these because I'm writing an interval notation. So I'm increasing from -infinity to -3, decreasing from -3 to +1, and then increasing again from 1 to +4. You'll notice this horizontal right here means that my function is neither increasing or decreasing, it's just constant. So from 4 all the way to infinity, that function is constant. Now, I'm going to look at my maximum values. So where is a peak? Where is a mountain? Where is a place where the roller coaster goes from going up to going down? Right here, where x is -3. So for my maximum, I'm going to write my maximum being where x is -3. My minimum, or my valley, where the track goes from going down to going back up again, that right there is going to be my minimum when x is equal to 1. So when x is equal to 1, that's my minimum. And in this function, there's just one maximum, one minimum. Sometimes you might have multiple. So for example, when we looked at this picture, our roller coaster function before, I had 2 maximums and I had 3 minimums. So know that that's possible. Okay, let's look at this graph right here. So I'm going to mark in red where this graph is decreasing. Let me move my screen around a little bit so I can change colors. And now right here is where my graph is increasing, and right here is a maximum where I change from going up to going down. So I'm increasing all the way from -infinity all the way up to this point right here when x is 2. So I'm increasing from -infinity to +2. I'm decreasing from that point to all the way down to over to positive infinity. So I'm decreasing from 2 to infinity because as I keep going along this x-axis, I'm never again going to be increasing. It's going to be decreasing forever. Where is this graph constant? Is there any place where this graph is constant or just straight? No. So I can just leave this blank. There will be sections of this you can leave blank. There's no part of this graph where it's constant. My maximum is right here when x is equal to 2. So when x is equal to 2, that's where I have a maximum. And I don't have a minimum. My minimum, if I were to write something, would be at like -infinity, but that doesn't really make sense because there's nowhere that the track is going from a downward position to an upward position, so there is no minimum. So I have an increasing and a decreasing part of this graph, and then one maximum. Okay, let's do one more example. I want to do this example right here. Okay. So I'm going to mark wherever this graph is decreasing in green. So here's decreasing, and then I'm going to mark wherever this graph is increasing in red. So let me change to red here. There it is. And right here is where this graph is going to be increasing. Then I'm going to put a thick dot anywhere where the track goes from up to down or from down to up. So right here, my track goes from up to down. Right here, my track goes from down to up. And right here, my track goes from up to down pretty steeply. So now let's look at where my graph is increasing, decreasing, constant, and when I have a maximum and a minimum. So increasing is from here to here. So from here to here, I'm increasing. So that's from -6 to -4. So I'm increasing from -6 to -4. Where else am I increasing? Well, I come down here, I'm decreasing. I'm increasing from right here to right here. So from 0 to 2. So I'm increasing again from 0 to 2. Is there anywhere else I'm increasing? No, there's not. So that's it. Let's move on to decreasing. So I'm decreasing along this gray line, so I'm decreasing from right here at -4 to right here at 0. So I'm decreasing from -4 to 0. And then I have more green over here, so I'm decreasing again from 2 all the way to 5. So I'm decreasing all the way from 2 to 5. Okay, so I've identified all my increasing and decreasing spots. Where is my graph constant? Where is it flat? Well, right here it's flat, and right here it's flat. So from negative 10 all the way to negative 6, negative 10 all the way to negative 6, my graph is constant. And then again over here from 5 all the way to, is this 9? From 5 all the way to 9 is also where my graph is constant or flat. Now I'm looking for a maximum. Where on my graph do I have a maximum? Or in other words, where do I have a graph going from increasing to decreasing? Well, here I have from increasing to decreasing, so there's a maximum. Here I have from increasing to decreasing, so that's a maximum. So at x equals negative 4 and at x equals positive 2 is where I have a maximum on this graph. Now I'm going to look for minimums. Where on this graph am I going from decreasing back to increasing? Well, right here is the only place where I'm going from decreasing to increasing, changing from green to red. And that is at x equals 0. So those are my maximums and minimums of this graph, and where the graph is increasing, decreasing, and or constant. So that's all I have for you. I would go back through this video, look at these different graphs. You could try this one on for size, practice identifying where it's increasing, decreasing, constant, and where a maximum and a minimum is. But I hope now you're better able to identify where a graph is increasing, where a graph is decreasing, and where a graph has a minimum or a maximum value. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed that. Especially so, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.